Welcome back, everyone. This is a special video because it is the week of the Leadville Stage Race, and I am here. I've made it to Leadville, Colorado.
If you're new here, my name is Steve. I'm a husband, a dad of 3 amazing boys, and a guy with a full-time job and big dreams. I'm on a journey to get healthy and fit through mountain biking, proving to my kids and myself that you don't have to give up on your goals, even when life's full. If you're trying to hold on to your dreams while showing up for your family, you're not alone. Welcome to the ride.
All right, so this was a little bit of an interesting one getting here. So as a quick recap, if you haven't been following along, my main goal for 2026 back at the end of 2025 was to do the Leadville 100 mountain bike race. That was something I didn't get to do in 2025. Really wanted to improve on my 12-hour, 48-minute time from 2024. So 2026 was going in knowing that was my focus. But I kind of misplayed my hand a little bit. I waited on the charity entries because normally the charity entries sell out just after the lottery results are shared. So some of them could take a couple days or even weeks to sell out. So that was kind of my plan, was to try the lottery because that's a much cheaper way to get into the event. And if it didn't, then, that instant, the second that I found out about my lottery results, if I didn't get the lottery, then I'd sign up for a charity. That didn't work. The charity slots were sold out way before then. They were all surprised. I heard from a number of them saying they couldn't believe how fast they sold out, but that just goes to show how popular this race is. So lottery results came. I didn't get it. Charity results were gone. So I knew that I would have a backup plan, and that would be the stage race. I did the stage race in 2025. Super fun way to be out in Leadville, to be a part of the race series, to get on the course. And if you're serious about doing the 100, especially more than once, it's really good exposure to the course and another chance to get yourself familiar with the ins and outs of the trails and everything. So wasn't too upset about that, but that became my plan. We were going to take the whole family, make a big deal out of it, to take the boys to their to Colorado for the first time. Couple of them, it would have been the first time on a plane, so it was going to be exciting. For a number of reasons, though, we had to cancel the whole family doing it. But one of the things that happened was that I unexpectedly got an entry for the 100 just maybe a month or so ago. I want to say there were about 90 days to the 100. So maybe somewhere around two months or so ago, I got an entry to the 100. So then I had to decide, what am I doing? Deferring the stage race, doing them both. I'm not going to say no to the 100. Fast forward, I am doing both. I'm here for the stage race. I'm coming back in August for the 100. And it's just me, no family, which is super sad, but that's how it works. That's how it worked this year. I'm getting, 9-ish days, 9 or 10 days, I guess 9 days of elevation adjustment while I'm here, and using the stage race as just another chance to train at elevation before the 100. The stage race is not my main goal. But something else happened, if you've been following along, and that is the wildfire, the willow fire right outside of Leadville. It started up just a few weeks before the stage race. It ended up, the race series ended up having to cancel the Silver Rush 50 because it was still all very freshly happening. Not the biggest fire in the sense of wildfires, but so close to town, directly on parts of the 100 course. The most iconic part, the power line climb. The fire was, I think it started right there, and it's been smoldering there for a while. So we were all kind of waiting what events are going to happen. Are any events going to happen? Are they all going to be canceled? Are we just going to defer to next year? Donate our entries? What are the options going to be? Are they going to do the course, but do the race, but a different course? And so the Wednesday before I left for the stage race, so I was leaving. I think it was July 18th, Saturday, July 18th, to go to the stage race. And the Wednesday before, they announced that the rest of the events are going to happen, of course, barring any changes in the situation, new fire, smoke situation, whatever. There still could be things that happen, but they're planning on moving forward the races, just changing the course. So got on my flight, really didn't know what the course was going to be like. Similar, harder, easier, no idea. So I've been doing some riding in different areas, tried some different trails around Leadville, some of the single track around the college. Had a suspicion that they might try to use some or all of the Silver Rush 50 course because it's a totally different spot than where the fire is, not impacted at all. No restrictions on that area. So got to ride that, and man, that I've always heard the Silver Rush 50 is a hard course, and I've heard people say that it's harder than doing the full 100 because the trails are so hard. And now I can see why. And glad I got some exposure to that because I think later than that day, from when I did parts of that course, found out that sure enough, that's where the stage race is going to be. So day 1 and day 3 are going to be all around the Silver Rush 50 course, some of the Colorado Mountain College trails. And day 2 will be the same Columbine section that day 2 of the stage race has always been. So Twin Lakes to Columbine Summit and back to Twin Lakes. So that's going to be very interesting. I really don't know what to expect. It's way harder for me. It definitely exposes my power to weight ratio quite a bit more. The whole course is at a higher average elevation, and just the trails up in that Silver Rush 50 course area up towards like Ball Mountain and all those county roads are just super rough, and it's extra dry this year from being a really dry year, hence all the fires in the West. But the dirt is so thick, like loose sand almost, and just chunky rocks everywhere. So it's really, really hard to get a grip. And if you lose momentum, just kicks you off and then you're walking. So it really slowed me down. So it's going to be interesting. I really don't know what to expect time wise. I think the nice thing is that I'm here for the training experience, and I'm here to get, used to the elevation, get some hard riding in, and let all of that help my 100 experience. And I think there's a big question of, will any of the course, any of the trails used in the stage race be used for the 100? Lots of speculation out there, but we just don't know. So it's going to be good training no matter what. And if the 100 ends up being a little bit more of the course we're used to, then that's great. I should be more than ready for that. And if it ends up being on this Silver Rush 50 / stage race course, then I'll have gotten some good experience, and it's going to be a really hard day on the 100 if that's the case, but we'll all be in it together. So I'll do my best to bring you along through the stage race. Today is packet pickup, and the rest of the schedule is kind of the same, just the locations have changed. So we start in town tomorrow, and then we make our way through the system around the Silver Rush and end near or basically on the campus of the Colorado Mountain College. Day 2 down to Columbine, like I said. Day 3 back into Leadville, start at the college, and then end in town. So it's going to be interesting and fun, trying to mentally wrap my head around how hard this is going to be, and just recognize that it's going to be fun day out on the bike. If I throw out any ambitions of incredible times or anything like that, then I can hopefully just have a little bit more fun. And yeah, I'll do my best to bring you along. So see you out there. All right, just did packet pickup and drove into Leadville from my friend's house where I'm staying. Super thankful that he's let me stay in his camper, which is great. Every time I come into Leadville, it's interesting to see the fire situation, and huge, obviously, kudos to and to thank you to the firefighters, the first responders, the sheriff's department, the county, everyone who's working on that, because obviously they're doing an incredible job and have got it very well contained, all things considering. So but it's interesting to see how different it looks every time you come up, and crazy it's still smoldering in some spots, and the main spot it's still today is right next to pipeline, kind of in the little valley, little gulch right next to it. But anyway, got my bib. The fun thing about when you go to the stage race is that it's just first come, first serve in terms of the number. So the sooner you get there, the lower the number is, which is funny. So last year I was actually number 11, I think. 102 this year. I don't know what they started with, but yeah, got the shirt, hat. I think it's actually the same. Oh no, different hat. Got the hat, all sorts of goodies from their sponsors, and yeah, super nice. So gonna head back, have a dinner with a whole bunch of rice, and make sure that I'm all set and ready for the morning. Good morning. It is race day. So morning has gone smoothly so far. Excuse me. Got to sleep at a good time, woke up at a decent time, woke up a little bit earlier than I was hoping for, but kind of went back to sleep. So I got some good rest, and got everything together. I'm gonna drive up to Leadville now, and hopefully I've remembered everything, and yeah, excited to get this thing started. So today's stage is an interesting one. It's a part that I have ridden earlier in the week, which is nice, but it also made me realize that it's gonna be super hard. So I think if you look at the elevation profile, there's like 3 main climbs, or maybe it's 2 main climbs that are like really long, like several miles long, but they're really steep. And then there's really long gradual descents. So interesting profile for sure. You start with a nice almost 6-mile climb, literally from the start line and on, and the first maybe half or 2/3 of it is nothing crazy at all, but it's a nice way to start the day at elevation. And obviously you're starting in town at over 10,000 feet, and you're just going up from there, and you don't get back to 10,000 feet until you get to the finish line, basically. So yeah, gonna be a good day. Beautiful weather. It's gonna be hot once the sun really starts shining. So got the sunscreen. I remembered that finally. You get sunburned so easy up here at elevation. Got all my gear, got my caffeine to start the day. I think I'm ready to go.
Process and try to find their spot here at the corral off 6th Street. Worked absolutely tirelessly over the last 3 or 4 weeks to make sure that we can get back to business.
Yeah, I know initially it was the only ones in stock. I was like, all right, at least do matching, and then yeah, it worked out. Have fun.
Of the hardest souls from 33 states across the country out here to have a good time and to celebrate summer in Leadville. Best of luck, everyone. Have a good time. We want to see smiles at the finish line in a couple hours over at Colorado Mountain
So as I mentioned, this day starts with just a really long climb, and it's a little bit uneventful, but the nice thing about all the east side trails are just the views and the scenery. So you kind of go along the historic mining scenes that they have preserved around town, and then you get up into some nice alpine trails with gorgeous views. If you're looking around, you can look around into town. The mountain ranges are all showing off for you. It's a really beautiful side of the town to ride on. Of course, not really thinking about that too much in the midst of this, but yeah, so the first climb is almost 6 miles. It's 5.6 miles, and you gain about 1,850 feet of elevation in that time. The average grade is about 5.5%, but the max grade is 19%, and it tops out at about 11,850 feet. So starts fairly mellow, but then as you can see here, it starts kicking up, it gets steeper, the pace gets slower, and as you get higher and higher, the trail gets rougher, and this was really loose. So this is where I was really glad I had some good traction. To the first time that I rode it earlier in the week, I was just spinning out constantly and getting off so often, but I was able to do a lot better. But of course, still had to walk some sections, as did most everyone. I think when I looked back at the data, basically over 12% grade was my walking point. So I tried to balance between pushing it and keeping some in reserve, but all told, this climb took me about an hour and 5 minutes, and my normalized power was 217 watts. And some sections, like this section right here, I found myself on my bike riding, and I don't know if I should have. I don't know if it was quite worth the effort. This was pretty hard effort, but I was obviously moving a good bit. You'll see in just a little bit that I actually end up following behind someone. I get off of the correct line, and I end up having to walk. So I get down in this little rut, and it's just the wrong place to be. And once that happens, it's just kind of done. Trying to power through it would just send me way past the red line. So, and then a lot of those people that I passed pedaling, some of them ended up catching up. So I think for me, I've realized that I have to do what I can going uphill and not worry about, am I passing someone? Are they going to pass me later? Should I put in the effort or not? And then that's especially true for me going downhill, because I will pass most people in this group that I tend to be in, mid-pack or back of the pack. I tend to pass a lot of people going downhill, and I've given myself the permission to just do that, because I can't go slow down and slow going up. I have to make the most of it where I can. So at this point in the climb, we are pretty much near the summit. Ball Mountain is just kind of off in the background. At some point when I was walking, I knocked my camera and I didn't realize it, so I apologize that it is pointed down more than it should be. I do fix it eventually, but it takes me a while to notice that, and I keep trying to fix it, but it's hard to do while I'm riding, so apologies that you have to see my bare legs bouncing up and down and you don't get to see as much of the insanely beautiful scenery.
Pass on your right. Passing on your right.
And we're right back into another climb. One thing on those descents, I love those descents, by the way. They're super, super fun, and I don't mind the speed. I've gotten used to it from some downhill riding that I used to do. Not that I was ever any good at it, but I did do like lift access bike parks and stuff, and there's a lot of those fire roads that you bomb down to make it to the next section, the next trail or something like that. So I've just gotten used to it. But one thing is that when I did the Leadville 100 bike in 2024, I had a rigid post, so I didn't have a dropper post on my bike. And then the next year when I did the stage race was the first time I had a dropper post, and especially on longer rides, I just really enjoy having the dropper post so that I can change positions. It's not necessarily so that I can get it out of the way when I'm going downhill, which that is a nice bonus, but it's not totally necessary. But the biggest thing that I've benefited from is just the change in position to, help my back or my legs, just have some variety, and I really make the most of it. So I know there's big debate around dropper posts or not, it seems, with these kind of events. So that's my 2 cents, and that's why I use it. But anyway, I'm coming up to the aid station here at a mile, I think it's 17.6. And my plan here, instead of carrying extra nutrition to put in the bottles, was to just take the Never Second high carb. That was the only high carb drink mix that they had. So I give them both bottles, super thankful that, they're trying to help out as much as possible. It definitely makes it a lot faster, very similar to the aid stations at the 100. So if you have to do neutral aid, this is kind of how it looks. And the thing that I didn't take into account was how little sodium is in that product. And so I'm a very salty, very heavy sweater, and I need the sodium. And so now I am going into this second half of the race with very, very little sodium on board, and also a different product, different ratio of glucose and fructose than what I had, the tailwind I had. So I talk about this a little bit at the end, but my brain wasn't totally functioning, so just wanted to add that commentary, because I think that combination of all those things is what ends up putting me in a bit of a hole the back half of this race. So more to come on that in just a moment.
Thank you.
All right, that last aid station was actually after the second climb. So my stats, or just kind of the stats in general for that climb, it's about 3.5 miles, a little over 900 feet of elevation gain. The max grade was 16%, but the average grade was a bit higher than the first. The max elevation is 11,200, so still high, but not as high as the first climb. Overall shorter, and my time for that was 34 minutes, and my normalized power was 190 watts. So I know I had dialed back a good bit, realizing that I'd kind of gone maybe a little too hard, or I felt like I had gone a little too hard on that first climb. So knowing that there's so much more left, tried to dial it back a little bit. But this is where things change. So this is the third climb. I'm part way up this third longer climb that's almost 5 miles long. It's 1,300 feet of, actually I think it's almost 1,500 feet of elevation gain, and it has over a 6% average grade, and the max grade is over 20%. And this one touches right around 12,000 feet at the top. So this one was a bit of a doozy as well. I'm not sure which climb was harder, but for me, this is where things were getting really, really dark. My normalized power here was 178, so I definitely took a bit of a turn, and my stomach was just in knots. It was super, super painful. I was starting to cramp up off and on, starting on my inner thighs, and I was really struggling. I really wanted to quit. I really, really wanted to stop walking, but I just forced myself to just keep moving, get to the top. I did. Started the descent, and always feel better on the descents. And this is kind of an interesting point. So obviously I'm kind of stuck behind this guy. I don't know how obvious it is, but he's going a lot slower than I want to be going. But there's no safe way for me to get around, and it's totally inappropriate in my mind, for me to try to push it, because we're in the middle of the pack. It's not going to make a massive difference, but I end up staying stuck behind him for longer than I am expecting. Sometimes I'll push it where the terrain is a bit rougher, and I'll risk a flat or damaging my wheel or something like that. But this was a bit too rough and never seemed appropriate. So finally widens up, and I'm able to pass by and kind of let go of the brakes, and everything's fine. But it is interesting, that cost me maybe a couple minutes total. In the grand scheme of things, that does not matter at all. So I just kind of accept that, especially in those kind of sections, I'm going to let that happen, let everyone stay safe, and watch for the opportunities. And I try to communicate, especially if I see that they're really nervous or something like that, try to communicate with them about their line, about my line, and make it very clear and obvious what's going on.
Shoot. Cramping.
So one of the fun things about the course, this rerouted course for the stage race, was all the single track that it featured on the first day. The race director ended up changing it on the third day. It wasn't all the same single track, but there was more, and she took it out because it was just already so long and there was so much climbing, and it really made this day so much longer. But it is fun single track, and what was amazing was I know where this is relative to the finish line, and I couldn't believe how much more we still had to do once I got to this point. So I was hurting, tired, very ready to be done, as was everyone else, I think. And I think the numbers really tell the story, because the first half of the race, basically if you look at the aid station, so to the aid station, it was 2 hours and 8 minutes, and my normalized power was 200 over the course of that whole 2 hours. And then after the aid station was 2 hours and 18-ish minutes, and my normalized power was 169. So 30 watts difference over the, very similar time period. And I just did not have anything left in my legs. And this section is not incredibly difficult, but you need to stay mentally sharp and try to keep your momentum up, and there's some punchy parts. So I'm happy with how I handled it overall. I feel like I managed all this quite well, but I was definitely spent by this point.
One more. Go. Got it. Thank you.
This last bit of single track is super windy and pretty flat, lots and lots and lots of turns. So I've sped through this because just as exhausted as I was, you might be tired of this stage at this point. So I will cut through this so you can see it. I'm really stuck behind these folks, but everyone else is too. So I think everyone was quite respectable. No one was really there were a couple people behind me and they weren't forcing a pass on me either. I looked for opportunities and I did take a couple opportunities to pass folks, but for the most part, it was just, I'm in this line until the end and there's nothing more to do about that. So
Well, I knew that would be hard, but wow, that was hard. I don't know if I filmed crossing the finish line or the last half mile or whatever, but I did my best to charge the last, I don't know how long the last climb was, half mile or a mile, something like that, but I did the best I could to finish strong, but I was cramping off and on in both legs, and my stomach was just in knots. Man, I wanted to quit so many times. And I think the consensus is everyone has the same feeling. So I'm not alone. We're all in it together. So that, it is what it is. But that was hard. I was hardly moving once I crossed the finish line. Did the best I could to get some water or something. My guess is that my stomach is feeling the way that it is because I had too much fuel. I think what I've noticed before is that at home I can take in as many carbs as I'm able to get. I regularly do 100 an hour, 120 an hour, no problem, but at elevation is very different. And yeah, I think that was part of the struggle. I also struggle with never second products. And I think that's where nutrition, on bike nutrition, performance nutrition is very personal, because all the brands are great and they have people who use them and swear by them, and that's fantastic. But they don't all work universally. Otherwise, why would there be so many? But I did never second in 2024 when I did the 100, and I noticed I had a lot of issues, especially when I got up to elevation. And I think it might be because they do closer to like a 1-to-1 ratio of glucose and fructose. I need to double check that, but I've done a little bit better in elevation and super, super hot days, like hot, humid days back in the mid-Atlantic area, with tailwind, which is a 2-to-1. And I think I've done other 2-to-1 ratio products. So I did start the day with 2 bottles of tailwind. And then at mile 18-ish, 18.6, there was an aid station. And I think it was actually earlier than that, but they had Never Second products. Never Second was the only high carb one they had. They had like scratch hydration. And so from then on, I had Never Second, and it was kind of the back half that my stomach started feeling really bad. It was on the last really long climb. And I was putting down no power. My average power is so low. My normalized power, I think my normalized power over the whole thing is 185, which even at elevation, it's lower than I was hoping for. But I just knew for long stretches, I was putting down no power. Like not no power, not literally nothing. But just like I couldn't put down the normal power that I'm used to. Like I was just trying to stay upright and keep moving. And that last really long climb, I was in a dark place. Like wanted to cry, wanted to quit, wanted to get off and walk. I had to go to the bathroom. I just fought that internal dialogue and fought those feelings and just kept going. And then right at the top, I think I may have actually caught on video. I may have to cut that out. But right at the top, I stopped. I went to the bathroom as best I could. My stomach hurt so much that it was actually difficult to do that. And then I started the descent. And I think it was sections after that I started cramping. But I did the best I could to go fast downhill. On that like last 8 miles or so, when it's kind of like up and down a lot, did the best I could to put down some steady power. It still wasn't a lot, but it was better. Got caught up in a number of spots in the single track, which is there's only so much you can do, and I did pass people. Some people let me pass, others weren't being as great about it. That's all very normal. I'm better than average going downhill here, so amongst this crowd, but I'm way worse. I'm way worse climbing than everyone else. So yeah, I have to make the most of the descents, and people will pass me climbing up. So anyway, that was a lot of rambling. I got to figure out how to feel a little bit better, get some rest, get some water in me, figure out what the plan is for tomorrow. Jokingly, but seriously, we are all, like, everyone that I talked to, everyone that I overheard in the finishing area was like, tomorrow, the Columbine day, which is supposed to be a hard day, is going to be the easy day. It's going to feel like nothing because it's 22 miles, it's just one long climb. The top is a little tough, but like today was so much worse. Yeah, just this whole thing is going to be really hard, and I do not know if I'm going to be able to make it for Sunday if I can't recover. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated as best I can, and probably do another video for days 2 and 3 because I'm sure this one's already pretty long. So thanks for tuning in and watching. Stay tuned for more. Keep you updated.